trust every board member that the decisions they make today will be godly, will be guided by you, and will be in your name. I ask that you help us to be passionate and understanding, while at the same time enforcing the rules and laws that are set up for the benefit of the people. Lord, I ask that you keep us all safe as we journey from this meeting today and travel back home. I ask that you be with all plumbers and all plumbers' assistants and all apprentices and all who work in the industry today as they go about the day performing their duties. Keep them all safe and in your care. Pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Mr. Chairman Terry Smith,
Present.
present. Mr. Vice Chairman Vincent Giglio,
Present.
present. Mr. Secretary Treasurer Ricky Fabra,
Present.
present. Mr. Michael Joyner,
Present.
present. Mr. Johnny Marquet,
Present.
present. Mr. Jake Causey, Mr. Kevin Brown, Mr. Lynn Sully,
Present.
present. Mr. Wayne LaFleur,
Present.
present. Mr. Chairman, we have quorum.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, enforcement. Citation Field Clayton Cormier.
Mr. Cormier, you can come on up and stay right here and just wait 1 second.
Case number 11429, respondent is Mr. Clayton Cormier, June 17, 2025. This investigation was done by Mr. Blaine Mott. On June 17, 2025, Enforcement Officer Blaine Mott observed an advertisement on social media for Clayton Paul Cormier, DBA, Lafayette Handyman LLC with no license number, listing prompting an investigation. SPBLA records confirm Lafayette Handyman LLC is not registered with the board. Mr. Cormier is listed through the Secretary of State with the advertised business. Mr. Cormier was cited for 1 count of advertising plumbing services without a license and 1 count of performing plumbing work without a license. On August 28, 2025, the division received an appeal request, and on October 14, 2025, Mr. Cormier was notified of his scheduled appeal request.
Okay, Mr. Cormier, would you like to tell us about the situation?
Well, I didn't know about the plumbing board of State of Florida plumbing. I called the state board contractor, and it states on their website, which I provided with them when I sent the paperwork. According to them, I was allowed to do some plumbing work as far as faucet replacements. That's part of a home improvement type of thing. But according to that guy that spoke with, he's saying I'm not allowed to do none of that. But according to the state board contractor, which states on their website that there's no trade requirements for $110,000 according to what's on site. So all the stuff I'm looking at is from the state board contractor. They're saying I'm allowed to do certain things. I cannot do rerun plumbing work or anything like that, but I can change like faucets, minor repair, not like new installs. So that's what I was going off of until he contacted me. But when he contacted me, he did state, do I do any plumbing work? And I said, only minor, like faucet repairs. and he's saying I can't do that. So he brought to my knowledge, he sees all the plumbing work, and that's what I'm going off of. Because I didn't know anything about the state board of plumbing. And I'm just going off what the state board of contractors told me that I'm allowed to do. And it stated on the website that I don't have to have a trade for my line of work, being I'm only repairing. So I'm like in the middle of, state board of contractors said I'm allowed to do it, and then y'all saying I'm not. And he just notified me about this, so I'm like learning about that I'm not allowed to. Last to my knowledge, I was allowed to from the state.
Do you have a journeyman license?
But
A journeyman plumbing license?
no, it did not state on the website. I screenshotted the picture, it stated that it wasn't required, no trade exams required, so on the stage of contractor site. But I'm getting the mix up of that.
How old are you?
I'm 35.
And you've never heard of state plumbing before?
No, I had a lot of people in my clients never heard about it. Because I told them I had this meeting and they was asking about it, so I told him, he's like, I never heard about that place. I was like, I haven't either.
All I can say is the contracting board does not regulate the plumbing.
And that's what he told me, and that's what brought to my attention, and that's why I seized all the plumbing because of that. And that's what my knowledge was as I was allowed to, because I am all about following the law. And that's why I inquired, well, to my knowledge from the state board, they acquired all that information from them. Because to me, that's the only person I had to go deal with until he brought it to my attention about the plumbing board. So now I know, and now I see all stuff.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yep.
On your website, or on your, I guess this is, Facebook, I see a repair on a water meter. Do you
Yes,
consider
they told
that,
me-
do
they
you
told me I
consider
could
that minor
replace-
plumbing work?
That's, I was replacing valves. I can replace leaking valves, but I have to replace what's
On
existing.
a water service to build, resident?
It's, commercial, it's a residential employee.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was just leaking, and I replaced what's existing.
I have a question for staff.
It was one.
No, sir, not for you,
Oh.
for staff. Was there a reason Mr. Cormier was not also cited for master work without a license? I see it was journeyman work and advertising, but wouldn't this qualify for also master work without a license?
That would be a question for Mr. Blank based on his investigation and what he saw in order to cite him.
I didn't see him or heard that he was doing, I didn't see him doing any plumbing, so that's why I didn't like my plumbing work without a license, just to advertise.
Will the water meter repair, oh, that pulled off your advertisement. That was pulled off your Facebook page, you know what I'm saying?
That was after.
That was still master work.
Also master work
That
without
was
a
master work.
Legal, are we able to add the citation of master work without a license?
You couldn't add it without going through the due process. You'd have to start the investigation completely over. I mean, I would not recommend that we do that, but I would certainly say that the fact that leniency has already been imposed could be considered by the board. I understand the provision or the language that he's referring to out of the Board of Contractors, but that only deals with the need to have a contractor's license, not with the law's long-standing requirements. This is not a new law. The plumbing code and the plumbing requirements and the requirements to be licensed to perform any plumbing work that is not on your own residence has been in existence for, you know,
1920s.
yes, for decades and decades, and I don't think that, while I understand his confusion, you're charged if you're gonna perform the work to ensure through all of the laws of the state that you're compliant, not just through the laws of contractors licensing.
Make a motion to deny the appeal.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Cormier, you see,
Mr. Cormier, Enforcement Division will be with you on Monday, and you can either pay your fine in full, or you can set up a payment arrangement through our office. She's gonna contact you on Monday, yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
I would make sure that you don't have any more plumbing stuff on your Facebook page?
It's not on there. I removed it when he contacted me.
All right, thank you. Evans Broussard.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Broussard has rescheduled to the next board meeting.
Okay. All right, committee reports, exam committee.
Yes, so we did not have a full meeting, for the exam committee, but I did want to kind of give the board an overview of what's been going on. With the journeyman exam, we have, received the completed, board for the new journeyman exam. Very impressed with the staff did an excellent job of acquiring those, and they look professional and well, just like we asked them to look. So I'm excited about that. They have been delivered to Shreveport. And so we have, currently we have 6 stations in Baton Rouge and 6 stations for testing in Shreveport. So we hope to have all the accessories and everything to go along with it ready for January rollout is the plan. We also were asked to review the rubrics for the grading. That has been done. We should have all that ready for the board to look at, I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks. Also, the isometric drawing was brought up. There is an isometric drawing that follows along with the journeyman exam, and y'all will be seeing that before the rollout for board approval. And but other than that, that was our main concern. That's our overall testing.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because I guess that hasn't got brought up right here, maybe I'm just sitting on the written part. I know we've got a lot of focus on the written part. Is the written part for the journeyman and the residential plumber going to be the same? Is it gonna remain the same, or have y'all gotten even thought?
We haven't gotten to the written part yet. I think the original intent was to revamp that also, but we were trying to get over this hurdle with the rollout of the new practical first.
Had your hands full with it, and you've done a great job. It's
Thank you.
enjoyed it.
Have y'all set up a beta test or anything yet?
No, we have not. I was hoping that once we got it done, once y'all looked at it, y'all would see that this is not gonna be something that's gonna be cumbersome or something that's hard to deal with.
Well, I believe Trey, y'all done a great job. Awesome.
That concludes my report.
Mike? All right, enforcement committee, Vincent Gigi.
Thank you, Chairman. Enforcement committee has been busy the past 6 months, and I won't get into too much detail because we have a lot of new business that we will be voting on, and be proposing. But essentially, we looked at 3 buckets. We broke enforcement down into 3 buckets to tackle. Bucket number 1 is the logistics, and that's the point that we're at to form some proposals to you. And when I say logistics, that means the mechanism that we use to enforce the plumbing law, the vehicles, the personnel, the hours, the mileage, the time spent, the regions, the allocation of assets. And so that's been bucket 1. That's been the number 1 thing we've been looking at, and we are now ready today to make proposals to this board on that. Once we get past that, number 2 will be the process of handling a complaint. So essentially the life cycle of a complaint from the point it's received and the process to the point to where it's adjudicated. And then the final process, or the final bucket that we will explore is the complaint obtaining process. So how a complaint is reported from the public or from industry to the State Plumbing Board office efficiently and able to do it easily and efficiently. And so we'll get into that, but I'm happy to say that I think we will be proposing soon, later this meeting, some
some broad and significant changes that will brand our board with professionalism and increase the arm strength of enforcement in our state. That's my report on enforcement. Yes, sir.
Building committee, Vincent Neal.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. On the building committee, things have been moving along slow due to the roof replacement and the electrical and building inspections. Ashley's done a fantastic job of staying on top of it and keeping the pedal to the metal, so to speak, with contractors and all of the inspection agencies that are required to get our CO in Shreveport. We are about there, and may already be there, and the electrical folks are doing their final piece of work to get us compliant. So we do have a building committee scheduled for November 18th, and we will look at the improvements, the internal improvements to that building to make the building advantageous for customer service and testing. And we'll present that for approval. We'll have a budget put together and present that for approval. Once we complete that, complete Shreveport, we'll see if there are any leftover funds in that budget that this board allocated, and we'll use that for improvements to the Baton Rouge location or anything that it may need. That concludes my report on the building.
All right. Actually, I see previous minutes action item, what's? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the previous minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Approved. Ricky, financial report.
Yes, sir. Cash account. I know I talk loud, but I'll put the mic on. Cash account summary, July, August, September 2025. Whitney Bank checking account as of September 30th of this year, $818,598.97. Whitney Bank savings account, $585,578.59. Petty cash, $155. CDs that are actually past due and mature, $250,000. CD due 9/27/2024, $100,000, and CD due, which just expired, $69,000. The interest earned year to date, $4,900.59, with total assets on hand, $1,828,233.15. And just to clarify the reason why we haven't reinvested into the CDs, and Ashley will kind of give you a little background, Mr. Chairman, for the board and for the public. Ashley, would you just chime in on where we're at right now on reinvesting into CDs?
Yes, sir. We actually have an agenda item under new business where we are requesting that the board allow us to go ahead. All of our CDs have matured. We'd like to move them to a different financial institution that, of course, meets all of our regulatory requirements. So that's what we'll be asking for today instead of reinvesting with the Whitney Bank. Mr. Chairman, before we move forward, can you please open and close the floor for discussion and open and close the floor for public comment, please, before voting?
Okay. I'm gonna open the floor for discussion. Do we have any public comment? We close the floor for discussion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that completes my financial report.
Oh, do I have a motion to approve the, report?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion approved. Advisory committee, Joe.
My name is Joe and I'm a player. We had an advisory committee meeting yesterday. We had a good meeting, a lot of discussion. It was just a general discussion of the upcoming year and what some of our advisory committee members may want to get forward and looking to put into committee. First thing that came up is, some of these home improvement companies that are in and out in a day. And we know that it's hard for enforcement to catch somebody whenever they're in and out so quick. But we just wanna make sure that, that they do have responsible plumbers actually going and doing the plumbing work. We know after the valve and the drain's hooked up, whoever can pop the rest of it in. But, if there's any way, and I know enforcement's been working on revamping things, so that may work out on the internet side of things with the advertisement. On the testing, it was brought up, as far as the gas fitters testing, has the same practical as the journeyman and the residential plumbing. So some of the members thought that it might be good to take some fittings and some shortcuts of pipe and maybe draw an ISO and have them put together 3 or 4 pieces of pipe and test it, instead of just making that one thread, since they do that in the residential plumbing side of things anyway. So that may be something that can be looked into. I did have something come up about LA Wallet. I was told by the executive director that the application had already been put in to have your plumbing license on LA Wallet, so that would be really neat if they approve all that. And that's about all that we talked about out there, so that concludes my report from the advisory committee.
Do I need to open the floor for discussion?
No, there's no, as long as there's no action item, you do not, Terry. But if there's an action item, you do.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, can we get, I guess, I'd like to add to the next meeting's agenda to, maybe propose we send to the testing committee, the possibility of adding the gas, or revamping the gas portion of the natural gas to the journey, if that's what needs to be done.
If that's a motion.
Make that a motion.
Make that a motion.
Make that a motion.
Yes.
Okay.
Mike has a motion to revamp the gas.
Send it to, exam committee for review.
You don't need a motion to do that. You can just ask that it be done and it goes to them. And then anything that they propose would have to come before the board as a motion.
Okay, can I ask that as?
The chair would have to authorize taking it to the meeting.
Yeah. Okay, let's, go ahead and present it. Well, you're the exam committee. So.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure for the board.
All right, Mr. Exam Committee Chairman, can you,
Yeah,
revamp?
I will,
Yes.
I will.
Okay, enforcement officers report. Steve Campbell.
Okay, Mr. Stephen Campbell, Region A, has a total of 422 miles, 80 hours, 69 inspections, 4 citations. Mr. William Easterling, also Region A, 974 miles, 80 hours, 127 inspections, 6 citations. Mr. Nicholas Dykes, Region B, 1,516 miles, 80 hours, 67 inspections, 14 citations. Mr. Glenn Grimiall, Region D, 1,680 miles, 73 hours, 49 inspections, 5 citations. Mr. Fred Fontenot, Region E, 2,000 miles, 79 hours, 62 inspections, 4 citations. Mr. Jim York, Region F, 1,417 miles, 80 hours, 83 inspections, 1 citation. Mr. Blaine Mott, Region I, 1,552 miles, 74 hours, 54 inspections, and 34 citations.
So out of curiosity, the citations, all the citations we had written, since they didn't show up to dispute them, can I assume that they were paid? Or?
No, sir. So those are just the citations that were issued during the months that are highlighted on your sheets. So those are strictly, specifically for the quarter. So it depends on when they were issued, whether or not they have paid it, they have 30 days to pay their fine. Some of these you will see next month. I think we have 10 appeals so far. And then some of them set up payment plans, so no, sir.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the report?
Second.
All in favor? So moved. Executive Director's report.
Okay, since our last meeting, we've completed the first full month of renewals for 2020, for the 2026 licensing cycle. I'm pleased to report that the process has continued to run smoothly. We remain on track to process online renewals within 24 hours of submission, provided all required documentation and fees are received. If you're sending it in via USPS or through the mail, process is still the same. You can still expect about 2 weeks. That's several days coming through the mail to us, it being processed and then going out in the mail. So that stays at about 2 weeks. The only reoccurring issue that we've really encountered with online renewals is licensees changing their email address or forgetting their password. While we don't reset passwords, we can, however, in real time, update someone's email address and then let them reset their password. But overall, the system continues to function efficiently. We're still in the sandbox testing phase for the new online examination applications. We're currently in the middle of testing all that, documenting any errors or adjustments that may be needed. We do anticipate rolling out the ability to apply for exams as well as applying for your apprentice registration, hopefully January 1st. On the public outreach side, the production work that the board approved for the video campaign highlighting licensed plumbing professionals has started. I will be reaching out to some of the board members. Some of you I've already reached out to or spoken to about some of your jobs coming up. I would like to get a few of you, schedule you to come into the office on one particular day to be able to allow production to video you in front of a green screen so that we can kind of control the background. And then I'll be getting with some of you to schedule job sites to be able to shoot some of that. So I'm really excited about that. A couple more things and then I'll wrap it up. Still on track for continuing professional education. You'll see also on the agenda, you guys will be approving the 2026 CPE providers as well as any new instructors. I believe we have one. Train the Trainer is scheduled for January, so again, I believe room block is over in December, so please ensure that all of your providers schedule rooms for them. And lastly, I wanted to inform the board that I've received some quotes for Chromebooks for the Shreveport office. Chromebook comes in roughly 3 different screen sizes. It's 10, 11, and 14. So obviously we would want to look at the 14-inch. I have spoken to other vendors that are using the 14-inch Chromebook to utilize Prometric. So I did receive a quote. It's about $19,000 for 40 Chromebooks. That does not include the 2 docking stations. Those are roughly about $500 a piece. However, please keep in mind when we looked at 40 PCs, you were looking at about $45,000. So this is a considerable decrease in cost. It's something that's user-friendly. It's something that we can put on the table. They can utilize it, and then essentially when they're done, we dock it and lock it in the docking station for charging purposes. So that's kind of where we are right now. I am in the midst ITC who referred me to Prometric to ensure that the operating system in the Chromebook before we spend $20,000 is a go. So that's kind of where I expect to head with the computers for Shreveport. And I would just ask that the board keep it on their mind that we also in the next year try and make that purchase for the Baton Rouge facility also.
I can make one comment, maybe think of the testing. My only request as we do these computer exams in Shreveport, which we have been, and if we do them in Baton Rouge, is to ensure that we are giving the laminated sheets with the blueprints or the isometric out to the examinee. I've had a couple of instances, and I didn't even realize until it was brought to my attention, that when you pull up the drawing on the computer and you're zoomed out, sometimes when things are called out with H or the letter of what they're pointing to, all of the little lines don't show up until you zoom in to see what they're actually calling out. So I just think if we don't give the laminated sheet out, which we have, it may be burdensome to the guy taking the exam. It's not, it's difficult to look at some of that on a computer screen, especially a 14-inch. So I would just like to, I guess my only point is I would like to ask the examiners to ensure that they're distributing the laminated sheets that we have for the exam to each examinee.
Can do.
I would like to also tell the board that we do use the Chromebooks at our facilities, and it has been a game changer for the way we test and move and do things just at our facility. It's mobile, they're able to move around, they're user friendly. So, I just wanted to tell you, I appreciate that those Chromebooks are a good avenue to move forward.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask, Mike, do you know what size screen that you guys are using? Is it the largest 14-inch?
Yes, it was a 14-inch.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Old business, 2023 through 2025 amended contract for professional legal services. Ashley, you want to go over that?
Yes, sir. Well, this mic keeps long. As most of you know, we had a finding this year on our audit. That finding was that essentially we had a 3-year contract with legal with a cap of $50,000 for those 3 years. Essentially, I was able to show proof that we were not just making a bunch of legal decisions here, that we essentially were tied into a lawsuit until 2024. This contract was from 23 to 25, so there were fees associated with that, as well as I had to show proof of all of the bills every year that we in turn had to either change our laws or rules and or laws, so that obviously costs money. So I was able to show proof of all that, which you have to. It's still a finding. So their suggestion for me to correct this finding is to essentially amend our current contract, which is fixing to expire, to just include, and you'll see in the contract that I believe we went to, yes, correct. Just to be sure, we have not spent that by any means. It's in the 60s, but just to go ahead and cover us until December 31st.
Okay, we'll open the floor for discussion. If we have no discussion, we'll close the floor for discussion. Do I have a motion to accept? So moved. Second? Aye. All in favor? Aye. So moved. Exam reports.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to, we have been approving exam reports in one motion if there's
I
no
motion to approve the
discussion.
exam report. A second? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, new business. 2026 contract for professional legal services.
So I'll go ahead and address this. We've submitted for your consideration a contract for the 2026 year. So that you may notice that the new contract is only for a one-year term, and that is pursuant to an issuance by the new governor and his office, that they are requesting that for future contracts that are signed for legal services, that they request that these contracts be submitted with a term of 1 year now. Used to be we would do them 2 years, 3 years at a time, but now they're asking that this be done every year. And I think it's simply for oversight, so that the board can consider every year whether it wishes to renew the contract. You are allowed to simply extend the contract for the next 2 years, but my suggestion is that as long as it works and as long as you guys are amenable, we'll just do an annual contract for consideration at each meeting, for the last meeting of the year. The one thing I will note, and I want to specifically call out to your attention, is that the new contract does contain a fee increase. The Attorney General's office has issued a proposed schedule for attorneys' fees, and that schedule is that for lawyers that have less than 3 years of practice, the fee suggested is $175 per hour. That has been what we charged the board all the way until today, or all the way until the end of December. That will be the rate that you're being charged. We obviously have more than 3 years of experience. I've been practicing for 35 years, and my law partner, Louis Roby, who does work for you guys as well, has been practicing for, I don't know, 40 years, however many years that he would rather me probably not say, but more than 40 years. We have always, of course, charged a much lower rate than what the Attorney General's office recommends for our level of experience, simply because we understand that this is a board that serves the public interest, and we want to keep this so that the rates that you're paying are as affordable as possible. However, we have not sought an increase since 2017, so that's going on, it'll be almost 10 years. And so we have asked to increase the rates in the new contract to $225 per hour for attorneys, and to, let me make sure I get it right, to $80 an hour for paralegals. That is significant for you guys because almost all of your rulemaking work is done at the ground level by Ashley and by a paralegal in our office. So again, we try to pass on the savings as much as possible. We're asking that you consider that increase in this new contract. Again, even at that amount, it would be for attorneys, the recommended fee for attorneys with less than 5 years of practice. So we think it's a reasonable request. We hope you'll consider it, and we've enjoyed our long-standing relationship with the board and look forward to continuing that relationship.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract as written.
We open the floor for comment.
No public comment.
Close the floor for comment. All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve contract with legal as written.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Julie, I'd like the person to say thank you for everything y'all do.
Yes.
Y'all are great. And, we're all.
You're welcome.
Actually, what did I make a mistake?
If we could go back to old business, I know that we, voted on, the exam report, but if we could review the amended contract and, vote on that amended contract, please.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the amended contract?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
And we need to make sure we seek public comment, particularly since it's a contract.
Do I have any, I want to open the floor for public a second?
I have said,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Reed's over here scolding me.
I told him he's rusty, it's just a little surgery.
All right, authorization to transfer state plum board certificate for deposit to a new financial institution. Reed?
Yes, we, Ashley just reported on that. We're not satisfied, with the current institution on the investment, so, we did get, an action approved, when I gave my financial report. And, we wanna try to expedite that as quickly as possible. You can see the amount of money that we just have sitting in our checking account. So we appreciate the board's approval, and we will administratively and as Secretary Treasurer move forward and expedite this to get this money invested.
Open the floor for public comment.
No public comment.
Close the floor for public comment.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do we have, and maybe a legal question, a requirement that our funds be FDIC insured, as they're state funds?
Yes.
And they currently are not, I'm assuming.
No, they are.
They are.
They're actually in a money market account through Whitney Bank, through the investment side. So, and actually for state agencies, it's not the same. We are FDIC, but they actually, because we're a government agency, they insure all of our funds. So it's different than your public money. So they're required to do that.
Okay. So
And
we're just,
also, the CDs are also under those same FICA guidelines for $250,000 threshold.
perfect. Okay, awesome.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve? Accept. Okay, second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 2026 annual approval of continuing professional education. Ashley?
Yes, sir. In your binder, you will find the list for the 2026 continuing professional education providers. This is specifically for providers. Myself and staff has ensured that they have submitted all required documentation in order to be considered for approval. The only change this year is that we do not have Ms. Margarita Orso's CPE plumbing provider application this year, and there's a list in your binder.
What about the PACE is on here? And I know we've had some issues there. Can you give us an update on where we're at with him being a provider and?
Mr. Pace has followed our requirements. I'm sure you guys probably don't recall, but not only did I speak to Chris myself, we actually issued a letter to him. We have been monitoring his classes. He actually has to contact us prior to every single class. I know that he's ran out of books. We just spoke to him last week. We advised that he contact some of the other providers to purchase books, but he seems to be in line, and he does understand that there is no Zoom or live classes to be given at this time.
Open the floor for public comment.
No public comment.
Close the floor for public comment. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right, D, 2026 annual approval of new CPE instructors.
We have one new instructor for Local 198, Mr. Timothy Grevillon. His application is attached, and our staff did ensure that he is properly licensed for the courses he intends to instruct.
All right, open the floor for public comment.
No public comment.
Close the floor. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Consideration of allocating funds for executive director replacement vehicle 2026-2027 fiscal budget.
Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, I brought this up, you know, I think when a vehicle gets over 100,000 miles, it becomes more of a burden as far as for service and repairs, and I think it's due to the fact that we have another location in the northern part of the state now. I would like to move on this to where we can allocate some funding and have Ashley start looking into purchasing a new vehicle.
Open the floor for public comment.
No public comment.
Close the floor. Any discussion? We have a motion.
Well, I do have one thing. Do you think we should consider leasing her vehicle as opposed to purchasing, or do we need to look at it both ways, see what's more advantageous for the board?
I believe we could look into it, have that option, as long as we're in compliance with state law.
About leasing, I thought there was a lot of issues with the mileage, because we traveled back and forth, so forth, would that even be an option?
And that's true. I mean, that's something we would have to look into. But I would highly recommend the fact that since, you know, Ashley is moving back and forth from one location to the other, bringing in testing materials and stuff like that, I would actually be open as a board member with consideration with the board members present, that we look into a pickup truck.
Well, yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly.
With a roll cage.
Get a side by side.
I make a motion to approve the vehicle replacement consideration, looking at all options available.
Second.
All right, got a motion, got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right, consideration of replacing current state plumbing board booth across logo with the official state seal, bearing state plumbing board inscription.
Yes, sir, if I may, if you all may recall, we changed our logo back when the codes were under the authority of Department of Health and Hospitals, hence the booth and logo. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page as we move forward with signage for the new building, as I need to change literature in the office. I just want to ensure that everyone's on the same page, and as we start to see the actual state seal change over from the boot and cross, that the board would be fine with that.
All right, open the floor for public comment.
No public comment?
Close the floor. Have any discussion? I think it's a good thing to go with state seal.
Make a motion that we change the official logo and all printing materials as they're phased out to the state logo.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So approved. Consideration of establishing an agency credit card for authorized board business expenses.
All right, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Whitney Bank is currently who we bank through, has recently let us know that their laws have changed. They will no longer issue, currently right now, just to give you some background, I currently hold a credit card for the office for travel, anything that's set forth by policy. We also have a policy and procedure set forth by the state for a debit card. That debit card stays in-house. It's used for material purchases, anything that has to do with the actual office. We will no longer be able to hold a debit card any longer as a state agency because you can withdraw cash from that. So the only other option is to obtain a a credit card for the office. There, no policies will change, no procedures. Every purchase in our office still has to have a PO, and 3 people in our office that are designated have to sign off. So that does not change. We are just asking to please allow us to purchase or apply for a credit card so that we can start making purchases again in-house.
Open the floor for discussion. Close the floor. Any discussion from the board?
So yes, just one quick question. This credit card will stay in-house, it's not something that we travel with or?
Yes, and to ease everyone's mind, essentially anytime, so the state requires that there's 3 eyes on any purchase. That's a purchase that I make on the credit card that I have, or the card that's currently been being used. So first and foremost, you have to apply for the purchase. That application goes to Ms. Casey in accounting. She ensures that there's money in the budget to make said purchase. Once she ensures that we have it in the budget to make said purchase, that comes to me to ensure that any purchasing requirements, if it's over a certain amount of money, as you know, sometimes we have to follow different procedures. I sign or deny it. Once I sign it, it can be purchased, and then Ms. Diana, as office manager, there has to be someone in office who essentially can put their eyes on the item and know that it made it to the office. So that continues to stay the same. And to answer your question, that debit card does, because it's for the office, there are instances where I sign off and allow it out of office, but that would be for train the trainer when we have to pay for hotel rooms. That would be over my credit limit. So to answer your question, it has a stationary place, it has to be approved to be used it, but yes, sir, I do allow it off-site depending on the situation.
Does the law require that this board need to adopt a credit card policy in order to issue a credit card?
We have a credit card policy, and I would like to stick with credit card policies are gonna be less stringent, so I would like to stick, like I mentioned, our current purchase order policy is what I wanna keep for that credit card, because with credit cards, you only have to notate, what this was for on the back of the receipt, whatever the case may be, who was there. There's no PO required for that. With all of these in-house purchases, I want to keep that business credit card under the same policy and procedure of a PO, because I want to ensure that I'm responsible for when that card is used.
And I'm assuming the plumbing board will own the points or rewards that come with the credit card if it's a rewards-bearing card.
I would assume that. I'm going to be really honest with you. We currently have a credit card, and thanks for reminding me, I never looked at the points.
They can go toward our Chromebooks.
Mr. Chair, I would like to just comment. I know that, with our policies in place, this was something that the administration went through, and they set up the internal controls to make sure that it was, looked at as an overview by, three people in the office, Case being one, and then Diana, the office manager, being the other, as well as Ashley.
So do we just have one card, or do you have one yourself?
So I have a company credit card, so that's used for travel. I'm going to be honest with you, it depends on what's going on throughout the year. I think the most last year that I spent on that card was $4,000. So I use it sparingly. Anytime that we have, go ahead.
Fuel also?
So we actually have a fuel track card, because we own the Equinox. So that's the other part of that. We'll need to look into trade-ins, but the credit card is just used for travel and essentially meals when it meets the regulatory approval process.
Make a motion that we approve the action item, providing it's in compliance with state law.
A second.
All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. All right, consideration of revised enforcement division structure. Trey?
Okay. I have the next few action items, so I know we have to do them individually, but I'll get into a little bit of what enforcement's been talking about. Our current enforcement model has been, and Ashley, correct me where I'm wrong here, 9 enforcement officers has been the current model with 245 hours, or 350 hours apiece, is that correct?
I believe it was 460.
460, that's right, okay. 9 enforcement officers, 460 hours per year, plus mileage for each of those enforcement officers. As all of you know, we have not been at capacity on those 9 slots. So what the enforcement committee has looked at doing is an effective professional means of employing enforcement in the state. And one thing we looked at is the mileage reimbursement cost versus providing leased vehicles. And while it is, the leased vehicles are a price increase over mileage, they provide a professional appearance of enforcement on a job. It provides deterrence on a job, just like if you are driving down the road and considering speeding. When you see the police officer, you typically do not speed. If you don't see a presence of police officers on the road, you speed. Well, you know, the same thing could be applied to doing plumbing work. If you see plumbing enforcement roaming around, it's a deterrence of handymen and things like that doing work without a license. We had to have budget considerations when we looked at this. So right now, if we move to a leased vehicle, the budget would allow for 3 enforcement officers with a leased vehicle. However, at a total number of hours of 1,245 hours per year. So effectively, it's the same number of hours worked as the current 9 enforcement officer structure, just reducing it to 3. With these 3 officers having that amount of time, it allows us to recruit high-quality individuals because their annual salary would be substantial. And also, having the leased vehicles also allows them to roam about the state without having to worry about wear and tear on their personal vehicle, anything like that, because of having a state vehicle. The goal of the committee is really to eventually be back at 9 enforcement officers at 1,245 hours for each enforcement officer. But we recognize with the budget considerations and with the low amount of revenue enforcement as currently the existing model is bringing in, that's something that we'll have to ramp up to over a period of time and certainly considered in the next budget. So action item number 1 is the consideration of a revised enforcement division structure to establish dividing enforcement responsibilities among 3 enforcement officers for the period starting January 1 to focus on license violations, unlicensed activity, and then general field support, also including the online activity. And that is the first action item to consider.
We'll open up the floor for discussion. No discussion, close the floor. The board comment. Any questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
Public comment.
I did say public comment. I did ask for public comment.
So you're proposing to have 3 full-time
3 at 1,245 hours.
to cover the entire state?
Current. With recognizing we're going to try to ramp up and add to that as those 3 enforcement officers generate revenue, see what kind of revenue we can.
Tracy, you wanna, I saw here it talks about dividing the focus of the work differently. Like
I'm not sure.
licensed versus unlicensed and.
I might have to ask Ashley to elaborate.
I thought that was
on because-
interesting.
Yeah, what do we mean by that, Ashley?
So essentially, what we had discussed, if I could back up just a little bit, obviously, the need for enforcement change is the need to ensure that we're protecting the public at full capacity, which clearly we, are not. So when we looked into this, some of the things that I did was, I actually met with, several other, licensing boards who mimic our laws. And what most people don't know is that we actually have two separate, I would fair to say, sets of laws. One is how this board should handle unlicensed, and one is how we should handle licensed individuals. And what these boards have done is they have taken enforcement officers and essentially educated them on those two pathways, right? So an enforcement officer who deals directly with licensed individuals knows exactly what he needs. He knows in order for the board to suspend, amend, withhold anything to their license, there's a process. So he knows all the paperwork, he knows all the investigative material necessary to do so that we have everything in order and we can move towards that. What those boards are doing, if I may, for a licensed individual, these boards have decided that anything, anything over an advertisement or job site sign is something that if you were cited, you have to go before the board. And essentially, it's the board's duty. So use of unlicensed personnel, anything other than a job site sign and advertising for a licensed person has to go before the board. And it's not to appeal the citation. It is for the board to decipher, we're going to suspend your license, or it is, we're going to allow you to continue your license, but if you're back in here again, we will suspend, or whatever the case may be. So there's that part of it. And then we also have a separate law on how we should handle unlicensed individuals. So it was kind of my opinion to speak to Trey about that eventually, in order to put teeth, we need to ensure that the guys who are handling those things know the laws and handle it appropriately.
Thank you for that, Ashley.
Sure.
So yes, so Julie, just to clarify, with the 3 enforcement officers, each one would be an expert, so to speak. One would be an expert on handling licensed individuals, one on unlicensed, and then the third on general. So instead of breaking it out, throwing out 3 in the regional aspect until once we ramp back up, we'll be able to probably have these 3 individuals oversee and go back to a regional model, but this would allow them to be experts and hopefully adjudicate the violations appropriately.
So in theory, the geographic location of the enforcement officer wouldn't necessarily be relevant.
Correct.
But I understand that's an interesting way to do it, and perhaps more specialized, which might be fruitful.
Do we have a radius? So they can go.
Essentially, these 3 would cover the entire state. Now, I would imagine we're gonna have one based up north, one based down south, just to make it feasible. But I mean, I think that would actually mention to the committee was that if it's something to do with a licensed individual, then the one that handles that would lead the investigation, so on and so forth. But they're gonna have to be spread out. We can't have like 3 enforcement officers in Baton Rouge.
I have a question for you. When you say leasing, how many miles do you build a company a year in that vehicle?
We hadn't gotten into the lease, but leases are they have variable mileage. So you can get leases that are 15,000 miles a year, you can get a lease that's 20,000 miles,
Yeah, I'm just checking.
based on.
So you see this guy here, he's got like 1,500, that's a quarter, right? So then this guy in this area will be doing twice or 3 times that travel period.
Correct. Yeah, the lease would have to cover the estimated amount, but we should be able to get a lease to do that. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to kind of clarify some things, because maybe the public may not see it our way to hear 3 enforcement officers, but I do want to preface this by saying we looked at an entire year of their work. So all of the enforcement officers, what they send in, were these site visits that they chose to go to, were these site visits that came in from a form of a complaint. So, currently, right now, their job is complaints, site visits, things that they may hear of, whatever the case may be. So we did do a comparison of that to decipher how many complaints we get and how many of them are on-site versus online. So I do want to make sure that you guys are aware, we did do our homework and review. I know that seems like a lot of miles in a quarter, however, not all of those miles are specifically directly related to something that we may have sent them on.
Well, I wasn't thinking it was a lot, I think it was too little.
The other pro, I should mention that maybe think about the other pro to leasing these vehicles, there'll be a tracker on them, which is required with the state contract, so we will be able to see exactly what enforcement's doing, where they're going, all of that kind of thing, which will be a good level of accountability.
Any questions?
No, I'm glad Ashley kind of cleared up the, I guess, the cloud that I was facing, looking at 3 enforcement officers out there specializing in unlicensed license. But just based on just the calls coming in, you know, through social media or just phone calls, you know, a lot of those visits, site visits is due to that. So, because, I mean, I just don't know how you're gonna have somebody that is an expert when it comes to this subject matter and it's just hit the job site and all of a sudden it doesn't fall in, you know, in his expertise field, you know. So I would think that, yeah, I think breaking it down to where, you know, each enforcement officer fully understands what their duties are. But in addition to that enforcement officer really needs to know the lay of the land, because if that enforcement officer is on a job site, comes across, you know, something that he's not assigned to do, he needs to understand, you know, the steps and the protocol that goes along with those duties as well.
I agree. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Second. I said, do I have a motion?
Oh, I thought you said I have a motion.
I said, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, a motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so moved. Before we go to the next one, I'd just like to make a comment that rationing us 2 minutes is just embarrassing.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would say I agree with that, because I think that we can, you know, I just read the budget.
John, you don't want to talk to me that way? I put you right there for a reason.
Take it too. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna eat all you can.
Oh, yes, 2 more, look. Jake's not gonna have that.
And I will mention, as we get to the next item, again, the 3, I think, is just temporary. We are looking at the budget, the next budget cycle, and our goal for the committee is to come back and propose additional enforcement officers. This will just be the first iteration of the new structure.
All right, next item is consideration of establishing 3 enforcement officers.
Okay, the next item just goes to the WAE contract. So again, the proposal is to keep a WAE contract enforcement officer, but is to set their pay at $30 per hour, and then up to the maximum of 1,245 hours. That is the maximum number of hours that the law allows a WAE contract employee to work. So we would max it out, and the committee did feel, based on doing their research, that $30 an hour is a appropriate commensurate pay to what off-duty law enforcement officers make across the state. So we should be able to get a qualified individual for that. It's actually in between. They make lower if they're working a non-alcoholic event or situation, and they make more if they're working something that involves alcohol. So it's kind of in the
Open the floor for public discussion.
No public comment?
Close the floor. Board discussion, board comment?
I do just have a question on the $30 an hour. Is there any type of package that goes on top of that, which would be the board's responsibility, considering that this would be a part-time position, correct? Not to exceed the 1,245 hours
So there's no further compensation above that, no benefit package or further compensation, it's a strict pay.
Okay, I just wanted to just clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion?
Motion approved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. All right. Action item J, consideration of sunset.
Okay, continuing on with the enforcement theme, it is the committee's recommendation to sunset the current enforcement officer framework effective December 31st of this year. Our existing enforcement officers will be eligible to reapply under the new structure, but the existing WAD contracts would sunset December 31st, 2025. New structure taking effect as soon as possible in January, noting there may be a period, depending on, we all know how state government works with leasing, there may be a period where the board members, in accordance with the law, have to serve as an enforcement officer, for a 30-day period or something if the vehicles aren't ready to go.
Well, I mean, I think that's an option, but I would say that if the 3 enforcement officers are selected and hired, and during that process of going through and trying to get the leased vehicles, I would say that we could compensate them under the old rule and just pay the mileage of the reimbursement, let them use their vehicles until we get the new leased vehicles.
Jeff, would that be a possibility?
Yes, sir, that would be a possibility. If I may, I'd like to address the enforcement officers. I don't want to talk like they're not here. I do want to make it very clear that having to sunset the current enforcement officers is by law. If we change the structure, we can't just amend their hours and their pay. There's a whole process with that. So that is the reason for the sunset. So essentially, these gentlemen would sunset December 31st. They would apply if they could commit to these hours, they could reapply. We're gonna change the way that we interview, and then essentially 3 of them will be chosen to take over these areas. And yes, if they are WAE, we are legally obligated, regardless of the structure, to either compensate them for mileage or provide them a vehicle. So we would, in the meantime, while we're waiting on vehicles, compensate their mileage.
Do we need to amend that, what, legal agreements?
We're not voting on the contract, we're just voting on the sunset.
Okay. Did it open for public discussion?
No, sir.
Okay. Open the floor for public discussion.
No public comment.
Close the floor for discussion. All right, the board, do any more questions? Have a motion?
Motion approved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? So moved. Consideration of transition.
I'll get y'all money's worth out of me today. Okay, this is the action item to transition from the mileage reimbursement to 3 leased vehicles. I think this would be the appropriate time to include in this, if there is an interim period, that we would stick with mileage reimbursement, but this would be the approval to go ahead, authorize Ashley to proceed with the 3 leased vehicles for enforcement.
Open the floor for public comment. Close the floor for public comment. Board, any comment? All right, do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. L, consideration of enforcement division. Trey.
Okay, this is the item that I was alluding to as we're going, toward the future, looking towards the next iteration of the budget for 26-27. This action item is authorizing the board, or authorizing you actually to look at what it would take to expand beyond 3 officers for the 26-27 budget, is that correct?
Yes, sir. So essentially, based on the budget, and looking over cost, the plan is we will be providing this board the amended budget for this year, as well as the following year's fiscal year budget in May. So to get ahead of it, I need approval to essentially budget for funds for one additional, if we can, during this fiscal amendment, and then ultimately, I obviously don't think we're gonna have enough in May to try and project next year, but to add as many additional enforcement officers as possible on the next fiscal budget.
So this is the item that we were talking about with the ramp up. Originally, the committee thought we were going to be able to do 4 enforcement officers instead of 3 on the initial iteration of redoing enforcement, and then when the numbers were finalized, it came back as 3. So this motion is asking, or this item is asking the board that if it's possible to add the 1 in the amended budget for this fiscal year, and then to add as many as the budget would allow for upon Ashley's review for the next fiscal year.
Open the floor for public discussion.
No public comment?
Close the floor. Any board comment? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion for approval.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, just like to thank the enforcement committee, Mike, Mr. Doyle down there. I know we had to meet a lot to get this going. I really appreciate y'all's input and work on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just say the same thing. You know, all of y'all work hard, we appreciate it. And we appreciate the enforcement officers too. We just need something, we just had to make a move to where we had something more full-time and more professional looking. And, this committee moved forward with that, but we do appreciate everything, all of y'all. All right. Before we go into the next, board meeting date, I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. Carl Bourgeois, who's been with us forever, about a month ago, he found out he had a tumor in his brain. And, we texted each other yesterday. They had to go back in and drain some more off his brain. They're setting up for surgery. Carl moved from where they previously lived, I think the Slidell area. And since that time, they have really connected with a great church. He loves his church family, and it's really made a difference in him. And every time we talk back and forth, he has done nothing but talk about his church family. And that's really, he's going through a tough time, but he sees that the Lord's with him, he's got church family with him, and that's something to be really grateful for. But in the meantime, keep him in your prayers, we really appreciate it. And Carl's a great guy, love him dearly, and just keep him in your prayers. All right, next meeting date, February 26th.
If I may, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, would like to inform the board that we will be going back to our 10 o'clock meeting time next year. We were able to secure that. So what we did was we actually secured the whole day to allow the advisory board to start coming in same day instead of coming to our office day before. Not that we don't love you, but, all of the meetings next year, you guys won't need to be here until 10 o'clock.
I really appreciate that, because I had to kick the rooster to wake them up this morning when I was leaving.
I did that just for you.
Ashley, you mentioned that we're going to be able to have advisory board the same in this room.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Adjourn.